Alright, so this is going to be part 7 to what if Deku had Accelerators powers. So with that being said, let's just roll the intro. Alright, so before we start this what if, there's like 2 announcements I'd like to say. First is that I'm almost at 2,000. We just need like 200 more subscribers and then we'll be there. I was thinking of doing a Q&A for it, so I'll make a post in my community tab for that probably, or you could tell me down below in the comment section. And yeah, next thing is that if you know my channel, if you've been around for a long time, I created this group of different what if people who do what ifs, other what if YouTubers, called the Sins, and I made a kind of a branch of the group called the 10 Commandments, right? And one of the 10 Commandments actually quit YouTube due to personal reasons, and I don't really want to get into it, but he decided to just quit YouTube. So that person was Ruri 23, I believe. That was his YouTube channel. And yeah, he was the commandment of purity. So if you are a so that spot is now vacant. So if you are a what if YouTuber and you want to be part of the 10 Commandments, then you can tell me down below your YouTube channel as well as your best video, and then I'll see if you make the cut. So what this group would do is just I would introduce you to other what if YouTubers, and you guys can help each other by exposure as well as collaborations and things like that. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's actually get into the what if. So in the last part, we just got done with the Stain fight. So in this one, we're going over the teachers versus villains. So yeah, so Deku would visit Ida in the hospital, and basically I don't think we got that far in the last part. So yeah, so he would visit him in the hospital and tell him that was a stupid decision that you did, going by yourself trying to catch a murderer. And this is what Ida wouldn't really talk back as much, and he would kind of accept that he did something wrong and that he was basically he did something that he shouldn't have. But at the same time, he's also thinking what would you do in that situation? And this is when Deku, he would basically say that, well, unlike you, I have the power to do what I want. And this is not really a kind of jab at Ida, but basically telling him you need to know when you're able to do something, and if you can't, you shouldn't do it, right? It's basically giving that advice to him to basically get stronger, because that kind of week that Deku stays with Best Jeanist, like in the last part, actually changes him a little bit and makes him a more approachable person, I guess, because Best Jeanist is trying to make people who are that kind of like how he did to Bakugo, where he tried to kind of change him a little bit. That's kind of what Best Jeanist did to Deku in this one. So Ida, before they could talk anymore, this is when the chief of police would actually come and basically tell him that the credit for the hero killer is actually going to Endeavor, since he was the highest ranking hero during that kind of fight. So because he doesn't want to get the kids in trouble, he's gonna actually give the credit to Endeavor. So Deku really wouldn't mind this. He doesn't really care about the fame, really. So he wouldn't care, as well as Ida, since he has really no choice and he doesn't want to get in trouble further than he already has. He doesn't care as well. So since Deku doesn't get injured in this one, he would still have that rest of the week with Best Jeanist and kind of train and things like that. So what Deku would do mostly, I think, since his quirk is at a very high level, Best Jeanist would just basically have him do physical training most of the time and basically explain some of the different things heroes do things like patrol, like how Bakugo was able to do that with, Best Genius and things like that. So when we get back to when they get back to UA, this is when they actually do the kind of test, the kind of rescue test that All Might does at the beginning. So it'd be a kind of race between I think 5 different people, that being Deku, Ida, Zero, Mina, and I think that's it. I think that's those 4 that actually go and do that test. So what Deku would do is that when they would say go, he would basically use his power, his quirk, to basically launch him into the air, and basically he would just kind of not necessarily fly, but kind of glide, sort of. It's kind of hard to explain, not really, but Accelerator doesn't really fly, but he just jumps high and he uses the vectors to basically keep him in the air for a long time. And he so often, or he has to touch something to launch himself again every now and then to basically keep him in the air. So that's basically what Deku's doing, and it's very easy for him since there are pipes that go pretty high, so it's easy for him to basically get to place, as well as using the kind of air that I guess he could use the air around him to kind of blast him forward, kind of like how Yuarashi does it. That's the wind guy from season 3, I believe. So Deku would basically blow everyone out of the water, since he would be the fastest. He'd be faster than Ida as well as Zero, so he'd be able to get first place. All Might would be very he wouldn't be shocked that Deku would get it, since he already knows how kind of strong Deku is at that point. So he's just great he's proud of Deku for getting first, but as well as kind of changing his kind of attitude towards the other students, since he would have noticed that change within him because of Best Genius. So in this one, Mirio does have one for all. I believe I don't think I actually stated who got one for all yet, because I just didn't know who I should give it to. But we're gonna give it to Mirio, and I want to know what you guys think about how the quirk interactions would work between Mirio's permutation and vector control. How would that even work? Would he be able to get past his barrier? Like, it's kind of hard to tell, because would his intangibility be able to go through the barrier? Because it's not like a physical barrier. He controls the vectors around him to basically block the hits. So it is hard to tell whether or not he'd be able to get through it. So you guys can tell me whether or not he'd be able to do so. Because if he's not able to do it, then it's basically, an unstoppable object, or an immovable object versus an unstoppable force, and then it just doesn't work. They don't hit each other, and it just becomes a tie. So you guys can tell me down below, and yeah. So we would get to the next part, and this is when Aizawa would basically tell the students that they're actually going to test them on what they learned during their internships. So they're actually going to fight the teachers. So the teams are still the same, since there aren't any new students added to the class or anything like that. So we would get Bakugo and Deku versus All Might. So in this one, like I said before, I think it was in some of the previous parts. Bakugo he's very angry at Deku because of how Deku seems like he doesn't care about anyone. He thinks that Deku believes that he's above everyone, which is kind of true. Deku somewhat believes that to a certain extent, but yeah. So at this point, Deku's a little bit changed. He's not as cocky as he was, but he is still somewhat. So when they get there, this is what Deku tells Bakugo. He tells him that basically for him to escape, and that he's going to stop All Might, so that they would not really need to fight, because it's just faster to get the test done faster than it is to just straight up try to fight All Might. But if you haven't noticed, like I told in the first episode, Deku should have the power at least double the power of a nuclear bomb, because he's able to reflect that. If you don't know, to reflect something, you need to do at least double the force to basically reflect something. So, because if you only do the same amount of force, they will neutralize each other and that will just cancel each other out. But if you do double, you'll be able to stop the other object's momentum and basically push it the other way with the same amount of force. So, Deku really wouldn't need to, he isn't really too concerned about All Might, since All Might doesn't hit like a nuclear bomb or anything like that. So, Bakugo would be opposed to the idea because he really wants to fight All Might, but as well that he really doesn't want to listen to Deku. But this is when Deku would basically say, like, look, I'm not trying to look down on you. I just want to get this test done faster, right? And Bakugo's not having it. And he basically rushes out to fight All Might. And All Might basically, what he does is he does the same thing as he does in the anime, where he basically grab Bakugo's face and basically slam him into the ground, while Bakugo tries to basically use the explosion on him, which doesn't really work. This is when Deku would basically be like, oh my gosh, like, why isn't he listening to me? Like, it would have been done like so much easier if we just, ran. So this is when Deku would just walk up and basically kick a rock and basically accelerate it to the point where it's a very powerful projectile, similar to his fight with Dark Matter in the anime. So All Might would see this and basically brace for the impact, since he doesn't want for it to hit Bakugo, but he also has to block it since it is a very, very powerful attack. So he does so, and this is when Bakugo thinks it's a great time to basically shoot him with a unpinned grenade gauntlet, which he does. This somewhat stumbles All Might back a bit, but then he goes and rushes for Deku, or rushes for Bakugo to kind of stop him. This is when Deku would basically stomp the ground as well, but this time he'd be a little bit closer to All Might because he would have rushed towards their kind of direction, and this would basically make a rupture towards the ground, basically splitting it from, basically breaking them apart. So Bakugo would be a little bit further than All Might would be, so they wouldn't actually hit each other. So this is when Deku would come and rush towards All Might and basically use his kind of air to blast them away. So All Might would be thrown back into a building, and this is when Deku would tell Bakugo to just, let's just go while he's kind of stuck there and leave, since it would still be faster to do so. So Bakugo agrees, since he has been getting beaten pretty badly from All Might. So what Deku does is that he grabs, he basically touches Bakugo's shoulder, and this flings him all the way towards the kind of area, because he used his basic the vectors to basically push him towards there. And then after that, Deku would launch himself off the ground as well and get to the finish line, or not the finish line, the exit. So the other classes or the other students still do what they do naturally in the kind of tests that they would normally get. So some people pass, but some people don't. So yeah, this is actually gonna be the end of this video, and in the next part we'll actually go over the movie. So yeah, you guys can tell me what ifs you want to see from my channel, and yeah, with that being said, this is gonna be the video. So yeah.